Thank you for this opportunity and your time. My name is Rick Barnes. My wife and I are small woodland owners in Douglas County. I am a forestry consultant owning Barnes & Associates, a forestry consulting firm in Roseburg and North Bend. I want to share our personal commitment to the complete and coordinated fire protection system in Oregon and how this system worked during the Archie Creek fire last September. As for our personal commitment, we have two Type 6 fire trucks and fire caches. One is staged in the Coos Bay area, and the second one is on our tree farm south of Roseburg. All our foresters are trained annually in basic fire safety and fire shelter training. We are not in the firefighting business and don't want to be. However, we feel obligated to help with the complete and coordinated system. We are not alone. Many small woodland owners make similar commitments. On September 7th, 2020, a fire started just before midnight near Glide. Shortly after daylight, the fire was over 600 acres, but was surrounded by the fire line due to landowners and Douglas Forest Protective Association, DFPA, efforts throughout the night. However, up the North Umpqua River, other fires had started. The Archie Creek fire was a few acres in size early the morning of the 8th, and we had two logging operations nearby. I called the operators around 8:30 and informed them of the fire, told them it was over 4 miles away, but due to the extreme fire danger to keep an eye on it. Shortly after noon, both logging operations had burned up. Although our fires roared, reaching over 60,000 acres in less than a day, 4 larger fires were burning in Oregon, resulting in very few available resources. If the cities of Glide, Sutherland, numerous small communities, and our forest lands were going to be saved, it was up to us, the landowners and contractors, to do it. Fortunately, many landowners and contractors had invested in training their employees in fire behavior and had entered into pre-season agreements with DFPA to allow operators to begin working the fire immediately. The main landowners worked with DFPA and ODF to identify the desperately needed trained and certified overhead to organize and manage the suppression efforts. Again, it was extremely valuable to many landowners, us included, had to train their forester to be qualified to be overhead on fires. A tremendous number of personnel and equipment were mobilized to the fire by local landowners. For the first few days, the fire suppression activities were focused on the areas threatening residents and communities. Thanks to these efforts, the cities of Glide and Sutherland and many homes were saved. During this time, I spent my time scouting, making plans for suppression efforts for other parts of the fire when equipment became available, and in identifying escape routes. A typical day was getting up about 4 a.m., downloading the latest infrared imagery available, and begin planning. Early morning meetings were held at various landowners' offices, revising daily plans based on the most current data available and preparing maps for the firefighters. These meetings not only included the foresters that were serving in various overhead capacities, but included upper management and CEOs. It really was an all hands on deck. These meetings were wrapped up early so the foresters could be at the 7A briefing meetings in the field. Some of us returned to Roseburg to begin planning for the following day. Crews worked minimum of 12 hours a day. I would typically get home around 9 o'clock in the evening. This went on for 10 days at no expense to the state of Oregon. It's important each of you understand the tremendous commitment landowners have to the complete and coordinated system utilized by the state of Oregon. I ask that you consider this as you consider the numerous anti-forestry bills before you, including requiring us to pay a higher percentage of the fire preparedness costs, even though most fires are caused by either nature or the general public. Please recognize the tremendous commitment and investment we landowners already contribute. The bill is requiring us to pay property taxes or severance taxes on our crops. We already pay property tax on the bare land and pay harvest and income tax when we harvest. There are no other crops assessed property or severance taxes. Lastly, bills taking away our opportunity to tell the true story about forestry in Oregon by eliminating or changing the mission of OSWA, which is totally paid for by us forest landowners via the forest products harvest tax. It's my goal to be able to continue to improve and own my forest land. I hope you recognize our efforts and contributions and don't make it so expensive we can't afford our annual property taxes, fire protection fees, and the many annual operating activities required to maintain our forests. I firmly believe we already provide more than our share of services to the state of Oregon, and increased burdens are unfair and dangerous policy if we want to keep our forest as forest land. Thank you for your consideration.